I'm Patricia Foster, 67 years old, and for 34 years, I was the director of security and fraud prevention at First National Bank, one of the largest banks in Texas. I've investigated over 3,000 fraud cases. I've caught identity thieves, credit card scammers, and financial criminals of every type. I've testified in federal court against organized crime rings that specialized in identity theft. I've written security protocols that banks across the country still use today. Then I retired 3 years ago to finally enjoy life with my husband George and spend time with my grandchildren. But 6 months ago, I started getting strange calls. Collection agencies looking for someone named Patricia Foster who owed $17,000 on a Victoria's Secret credit card. Another collector asking about a $12,000 debt to Best Buy. A third demanding payment for a Capital One card with a $15,000 balance. I told them all the same thing. I don't have those cards. I've never applied for them. This is fraud. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Some other Patricia Foster with a similar social security number maybe. Then I pulled my credit report. 19 credit cards, all opened in my name over the past 8 months. Total debt, $147,000. Someone had stolen my identity and gone on a massive spending spree. But here's the thing about being a bank security director for 34 years. You learn how to track financial criminals. You learn their patterns. You learn how they operate. And you learn exactly how to catch them. I spent 1 week investigating. 1 week using every technique I developed over 3 decades of catching identity thieves. And I discovered that the person who'd stolen my identity destroyed my credit and racked up nearly $150,000 in fraudulent debt. Wasn't some stranger from the dark web. It was my 24-year-old granddaughter, Kayla. This is the story of how a grandmother used 34 years of expertise to destroy her granddaughter's identity theft operation and send her to federal prison. Let me start at the beginning, because understanding how this happened requires understanding Kayla. Kayla is my son David's daughter from his first marriage. David and his ex-wife Rachel divorced when Kayla was 3, and Rachel moved to California with Kayla. David stayed in Texas, remarried, and eventually had 2 more children. Because of the distance, I only saw Kayla once or twice a year when she was growing up. Summer visits, occasional holidays. She was always a sweet girl, or so I thought. Polite, charming, good with her younger half-siblings. When Kayla turned 22, she decided to move to Texas to be closer to David and reconnect with family. She'd been working various retail jobs in California and wanted a fresh start. David was thrilled. He helped her find an apartment, co-signed her lease, got her a job at his company. Kayla seemed grateful for the help and started attending our family dinners regularly. She was especially attentive to me and George, always asking how we were doing, offering to help with errands, volunteering to fix our computers when we had technical issues. "Grandma, your laptop is so slow. Let me clean it up for you." "Grandpa George, your email keeps getting spam. Let me update your security settings." I thought she was being helpful. I didn't realize she was gathering information. About 10 months ago, Kayla spent a weekend at our house. She needed a place to stay while her apartment was being fumigated, she said. We were happy to have her. During that weekend, she had access to everything. My home office, my files, my mail, my computer. I didn't think anything of it. She was family. I trusted her. That was my mistake. 2 months after that visit, the first fraudulent credit card was opened in my name. I didn't know about it because I wasn't monitoring my credit. Why would I? I was a 77-year-old retired woman with excellent credit and no reason to suspect fraud. Over the next 6 months, Kayla opened 18 more cards. She was systematic about it. She targeted stores and cards that older people might realistically use. Department stores, home improvement stores, gas cards. Nothing too suspicious. She had everything she needed. My full name, social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, previous addresses, all the information you need to pass identity verification, information she'd gathered during that weekend at our house. She spent carefully at first, a few $100s here and there. Then she got greedy. By month 6, she was maxing out every card as soon as it arrived. Victoria's Secret, $17,000. Best Buy, $12,000. Capital One, $15,000. Nordstrom, $11,000. Home Depot, $9,000. The list went on. 19 cards, $147,000 in total fraud. The cards were being sent to a P.O. box she'd opened in my name. She'd intercept them, activate them, and start spending immediately. The bills went to the same P.O. box, so I never saw any statements. It was a nearly perfect crime, except she forgot one critical thing. I'm not a typical 77-year-old victim. I'm a woman who spent 34 years catching identity thieves. The collection calls started in January. At first, I thought they were scams. Those fake debt collectors who try to trick elderly people into paying money they don't owe. But then I got a letter from a law firm representing American Express. They were preparing to sue me for $14,000 in unpaid debt. That's when I knew this was real. I did what I'd trained bank employees to do for 3 decades. I pulled my credit report from all 3 bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. What I saw made my blood run cold. 19 accounts I'd never opened, $147,000 I'd never spent. My credit score, which had been 810, was now 512. Someone had destroyed my financial life. I sat in my home office, staring at the credit reports, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. The cold, analytical focus of an investigator who's just found a case. I called George into the office. "Someone has stolen my identity," I said. "What? How is that possible?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." I started my investigation the same way I'd investigated 3,000 fraud cases over my career, by following the money. First, I requested detailed statements for every fraudulent account. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, creditors are required to provide documentation of debts they're trying to collect. The statements arrived over the next 2 weeks. I spread them across my desk and started analyzing spending patterns. Identity thieves have patterns. They have preferences. They leave digital fingerprints even when they think they're being careful. I created a spreadsheet tracking every transaction: date, merchant, amount, location, time of day. Patterns started emerging immediately. The transactions clustered around certain locations: North Park Mall, Galleria Dallas, the shopping district near Kayla's apartment. The timing was consistent, mostly weekday afternoons and evenings, consistent with someone who worked a 9-to-5 job. The merchants revealed a profile: Victoria's Secret, Sephora, Nordstrom, Zara, boutique clothing stores, someone young, female, interested in fashion and makeup. This wasn't a random criminal from Eastern Europe using stolen credit card numbers. This was someone local, someone who knew me, someone with access to my personal information. I made a list of people who'd had access to my home and my personal documents in the past year. George, obviously not him. David and his wife, Jennifer. My daughter, Michelle. My cleaning service, same company for 15 years, bonded and insured. Kayla. I started with the cleaning service. I called the owner, explained the situation, and asked if any new employees had been hired recently. She checked her records. No new employees in 2 years. All current employees had passed background checks. It wasn't them. Michelle and David both had solid alibis for most of the transactions. Michelle lives in Houston and works as a lawyer with a schedule that's documented every hour. David works in corporate management with the same kind of verifiable schedule. That left Kayla. But I needed proof. Suspicion wasn't enough. I'd built hundreds of fraud cases over my career, and I knew that solid evidence was everything. I started tracking Kayla's movements and comparing them to the fraudulent transactions. I called David, casual and friendly. "Hey honey, I'm trying to plan a family lunch. Is Kayla usually free on weekday afternoons?" "Yeah, she gets off work at 5, so afternoons are usually good." "Great. And where's she working now?" "Still at that marketing firm downtown." "Why?" "Just trying to coordinate schedules." "Marketing firm downtown." I made a note. Over the next 2 weeks, I cross-referenced Kayla's likely schedule with the transaction timestamps. Victoria's Secret, 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Kayla would have been at work. Except I called the marketing firm pretending to be a potential client wanting to schedule a meeting with Patricia Foster. "I'm sorry, we don't have anyone by that name," the receptionist said. "Really? Patricia Foster in the marketing department?" "We don't have a marketing department, and I don't see anyone with that name in our system." Kayla had lied about where she worked. I dug deeper. I used my industry contacts, People I'd worked with for 3 decades who now worked at various financial institutions and credit bureaus. Through a friend at TransUnion, I learned that the P.O. box receiving my fraudulent credit card statements was registered under my name but opened with a fake ID. The security camera footage from the post office showed a young woman with long dark hair, Kayla's exact description, opening the box. Through a former colleague at Visa, I learned that several of the fraudulent cards had been used to make cash advances at ATMs near Kayla's apartment. Through another contact at American Express, I obtained security camera footage from a Nordstrom where one of my fraudulent cards had been used. The footage clearly showed Kayla at the register using a credit card, signing my name. I had her, but I still needed to understand how she'd gotten my information. I thought back to that weekend 10 months ago when Kayla had stayed at our house. I went through my home office systematically, trying to remember what she might have had access to. Then I found it. In my file cabinet, I keep a folder labeled Important Documents. It contains copies of my social security card, birth certificate, marriage license, mortgage papers, and other vital records. It's a backup in case something happens to the originals. The folder was still there, but when I looked at it carefully, I noticed something. The documents were slightly out of order, and there were small marks on some of them, the kind of marks a phone camera flash might leave when photographing documents in dim lighting. Kayla had photographed everything that weekend, while George and I slept, while we were out running errands, while we trusted her because she was family. She'd systematically stolen my entire identity. I now had all the evidence I needed. Credit card statements showing $147,000 in fraudulent charges, security camera footage showing Kayla using the fraudulent cards, P.O. box records, linking the fraud to an address near her apartment, transaction patterns matching her location and schedule, proof that she'd lied about her employment, forensic evidence suggesting she'd photographed my documents. I'd built an airtight case. Now I needed to decide what to do with it. George wanted me to go to the police immediately. She's a criminal, Patricia. She stole from you. She destroyed your credit. She needs to be arrested. I know, I said, but she's David's daughter. If I have her arrested, it'll destroy him. He'll never forgive me. She destroyed your credit. She stole $147,000? I know, but I need to think about this carefully. I spent a sleepless night weighing my options. Option 1, go to the police. Kayla would be arrested, charged with identity theft and credit card fraud, federal charges. Given the amount of money involved, she'd likely go to prison for 5 to 10 years. Option 2, confront her privately. Give her a chance to confess and make restitution. Maybe she could avoid prison if she paid everything back and showed genuine remorse. Option 3, use my industry connections to destroy her financially without involving law enforcement. Report the fraud, tank her credit, make sure she could never get a loan or credit card again. Let her live with the consequences without sending her to prison. I'm a grandmother. I loved Kayla, even though she'd betrayed me. The thought of sending her to federal prison made me physically ill, but I'm also a professional who'd spent 34 years fighting financial crime. I knew that identity thieves rarely stopped after one victim. If I didn't stop Kayla, she'd do this to someone else. I made my decision. I would confront Kayla privately. I would give her one chance to confess, show remorse, and agree to full restitution. If she took that chance, I wouldn't press charges. But if she lied, if she denied it, if she showed no remorse, I would turn over every piece of evidence to the FBI and make sure she faced the full weight of federal prosecution. I called Kayla and asked her to meet me for lunch, just the two of us, grandmother and granddaughter. She agreed enthusiastically. That sounds great, Grandma. I've been meaning to catch up with you. We met at a quiet restaurant on a Tuesday afternoon. Kayla showed up wearing designer clothes I knew she couldn't afford on a retail salary. Clothes purchased with my stolen credit cards. She hugged me warmly. Hi, Grandma. You look great. We ordered food and made small talk for a few minutes. Then I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table between us. Kayla, I need to talk to you about something serious. Her smile faltered slightly. Okay, what's up? I opened the folder, revealing the first page. My credit report showing 19 fraudulent accounts. Someone has stolen my identity, I said calmly. Over the past 8 months, this person has opened 19 credit cards in my name and accumulated $147,000 in debt. Kayla's face showed surprise, perfectly practiced surprise. Oh my God, Grandma, that's terrible. Who would do that? That's what I spent the last 3 weeks investigating, I said, and I found out exactly who did it. I pulled out the next page, a transaction statement from Victoria's Secret showing $17,000 in charges. Every one of these charges was made at stores near your apartment. The timing of the transactions matches your schedule. The merchants match your shopping preferences. Kayla's face was going pale, but she tried to maintain composure. That's just a coincidence, Grandma. Lots of people shop at those stores. I pulled out the next page. Security camera footage from Nordstrom, printed from the video, showing Kayla clearly visible at the checkout counter using one of my fraudulent cards. That's you, Kayla, using my credit card, signing my name. Her mouth opened and closed. No words came out. I pulled out the next page, P.O. Box records, showing the fake ID used to open the box that received my credit cards. You opened a P.O. box in my name. You had my credit cards sent there. You intercepted them and used them. I pulled out the final page. A photograph of my social security card and birth certificate, showing the slight blur that indicated it had been photographed with a phone camera. You photographed my documents during the weekend you stayed at my house. You had everything you needed to steal my identity. Kayla was shaking now, tears starting to roll down her cheeks. Grandma, I can explain. I'm a retired bank security director, Kayla. I spent 34 years investigating identity theft. I've caught hundreds of criminals who thought they were smarter than me. Did you really think I wouldn't figure this out? She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. I needed the money, she whispered. I have so much debt from college. I lost my job. I didn't know what else to do. So you stole from your grandmother? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was going to pay it back. I swear. With what money, Kayla? You've spent $147,000. You don't have a job. You can't possibly pay this back. I'll get a job. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. Please don't tell my dad. Please don't call the police. I looked at this young woman, my granddaughter, who I'd watched grow up, who I'd loved and trusted, and I saw a criminal who'd betrayed her family without a second thought. Kayla, here's what's going to happen. You have 2 choices. She looked up. Hope and fear mixed on her face. Choice 1. I take all this evidence to the FBI today. Identity theft involving more than $100,000 is a federal crime. You'll be arrested, prosecuted, and sentenced to 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Your entire life will be destroyed. She made a choking sound. Choice 2. You confess everything to your father tonight in front of me. You agree to enter a guilty plea in civil court. You will work with the creditors to settle the debts for whatever amount they'll accept. You will get a full-time job and pay back every penny over however long it takes. You will attend financial counseling and therapy, and you will never, ever commit fraud again. I'll take choice 2, she said desperately. I'll do anything. Please don't send me to prison. I'm not finished. If you choose option 2, you will also agree to be monitored. I will have access to your bank statements, your credit report, your employment records. You will check in with me weekly if you miss a single payment, if you open a single unauthorized account. If you commit any fraud whatsoever, I will immediately turn over all evidence to the FBI. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. I'll do it. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you so much. And one more thing, Kayla. You will never attend another family gathering. You will never ask your father for money. And you will never contact me or George again, unless it's to report your weekly progress. You've destroyed the trust in this family. You don't get to pretend everything is fine. Her face crumpled, but she nodded. Tonight, I said, 7 p.m., your father's house. You will tell him everything. That evening, George and I arrived at David's house at 6:45. Kayla showed up at exactly 7, looking like she was walking to her execution. David and his wife, Jennifer, were confused about why we'd all gathered on a random Tuesday night. What's this about, Mom? David asked. Kayla has something she needs to tell you, I said, and she told him everything. The stolen identity, the credit cards, the $147,000, the lies about her job, all of it. I watched my son's face go through shock, disbelief, anger, and devastation. When Kayla finished, David turned to me. Mom, did you know about this? I've known for 3 weeks. I've been investigating. And you didn't tell me? I wanted to give Kayla the chance to confess herself, to take accountability. David looked at his daughter like he'd never seen her before. You stole from your grandmother, from my mother. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. You've destroyed her credit. Do you understand what you've done? I'm going to pay it back. All of it. With what? David's voice was rising. You don't even have a real job. You lied about that too. Jennifer, who'd been silent until now, spoke up quietly. David, maybe we should talk about this privately. No, I said firmly. This needs to be said now. Kayla, you've committed multiple federal crimes. Identity theft, credit card fraud, wire fraud. I have enough evidence to send you to prison for a decade. The only reason you're not already in federal custody is because I'm giving you one chance to make this right. David turned to me, his face pale. Mom, what are you saying? I'm saying that Kayla has a choice. She can work with the creditors, get a job, pay back every penny, and avoid prison. Or I can turn this evidence over to the FBI tomorrow morning. You'd really send your granddaughter to prison. Your daughter committed federal crimes against me, David. She stole my identity. She destroyed my credit. She spent $147,000. Yes, I would absolutely send her to prison if she doesn't make this right. The room went silent. Finally, Kayla spoke. I'll make it right, Grandma. I promise. I'll do whatever it takes. Then we start tomorrow, I said. You'll come to my house at 9 a.m. We'll contact every creditor, explain the fraud, negotiate settlements, and set up payment plans. You'll also apply for jobs, real jobs, and you'll work every hour you can until this debt is paid. Over the next 6 months, Kayla and I worked together every week. I helped her negotiate with creditors. Most agreed to settle for 50 to 60 cents on the dollar once I provided evidence that the charges were fraudulent and that Kayla was committed to repayment. The total debt was reduced from $147,000 to about $89,000. Kayla got a job as a server at a high-end restaurant. She worked 50 to 60 hours a week. She got a second job doing data entry on weekends. She moved to a cheaper apartment. She sold her designer clothes on consignment. Every Friday, she came to my house and showed me her pay stubs, her bank statements, and proof of payments to creditors. She paid $500 one month, $1,000 the next, $1,500 the month after that. It was slow, painful progress, but it was progress. David struggled with what Kayla had done. His relationship with her was strained, damaged, maybe permanently broken. But he didn't cut her off completely. He couldn't. She was his daughter. My credit took a year to fully recover. I filed fraud reports with all 3 bureaus. I worked with the creditors to remove the fraudulent accounts from my credit history. Slowly, painfully, my credit score climbed back from 512 to its original 810. But the betrayal left scars that haven't healed. 2 years after the confrontation, Kayla has paid back $47,000. Of the $89,000 she owes. She's working full-time, living frugally, making steady payments. She emails me every Friday with updates. She doesn't ask for forgiveness. She just reports her progress. I don't respond to most of the emails, but I read them, and I track every payment. Last month, she sent me an email that was different from the others. Grandma, I know I can never undo what I did. I know I destroyed your trust and hurt our family. I know I'm sorry. Doesn't mean anything after what I did. But I want you to know that I think about it every day. I think about how much I hurt you and how stupid and selfish I was. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be someone you could be proud of again someday. I know that day might never come, but I'm trying. Love, Kayla. I didn't respond to that email either, but I saved it. Because here's what I learned in 34 years of investigating financial crimes. People can change, but they rarely do. Most criminals reoffend. Most identity thieves don't stop after one victim, but some people, a small percentage, actually learn from their mistakes. They face consequences. They work hard to make things right, and they genuinely change. I don't know yet which kind of person Kayla is. Time will tell. For now, I monitor her weekly reports. I track her payments. I watch her credit report to make sure she's not committing fraud elsewhere. And I remember what I told her that day in the restaurant. If you commit fraud again, I will turn over all evidence to the FBI. That threat still stands. It will always stand. I'm Patricia Foster, 67 years old, retired bank security director. My granddaughter stole my identity and racked up $147,000 in fraudulent debt. She thought I was just another elderly victim who wouldn't notice or wouldn't know how to fight back. She forgot that I'd spent 34 years catching identity thieves. I investigated her the same way I'd investigated 3,000 criminals. I documented everything. I built an airtight case. I caught her with irrefutable evidence. Then I gave her a choice: confess and make restitution, or go to federal prison. She chose restitution. She's paid back $47,000 so far. She has $42,000 left to go. She's trying to change. She's working hard. She's taking accountability. But I'm still watching her because catching identity thieves is my expertise. And I'm very, very good at my job. Never steal from someone whose career was protecting people from criminals exactly like you. They know every trick. They recognize every pattern. And they know exactly how to destroy you. Professionally, legally, and permanently. The end. Subscribe for more grandma justice stories.